It is the 22nd of May, 2016. I'm Dana Durnford, the host of NuclearProctologist.org. And we're going to do a live stream tomorrow morning, May 23rd, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You'll find a link below. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all the species on the coastline. And we're going to run through just a smorgasbord of that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about, and let's find a better way of presenting that, I suppose. We'll talk about all species of worms. There's many species of worms from British Columbia. Incredible amount of species. I know you're going to try to get through all of that. Hang on. There's 480 of those species. And we'll talk about a lot of different species. We'll talk about spiders in British Columbia. We're going to talk about the massive amount of radiation per liter. Now, 5 becquerels in your food, you throw it away. We got 220 million becquerels in a liter of our drinking water and rainwater. And we'll talk about butterflies of British Columbia. We're going to talk about sea anemones of British Columbia and the many different species of sea anemones. We're going to talk about rare birds of British Columbia and then the incredible amount of material. Checklist of birds, sea lilies and sand dollars and red rough feathers and common feathers and everything else. Pink urchins. We'll talk about all of that kind of stuff. We got just a smorgasbord, a couple of hundred of them to shoot through tomorrow for May 23rd. The mollusks in British Columbia. We got an extraordinarily amount here in British Columbia. We'll talk about all of that tomorrow in an extended show, and we'll talk about that, of course, over and over. And we also got all kinds of stuff, really, when you think about it. These are all British Columbia studies on just different species that's unique to British Columbia. Some of them have only been found a few times. The sponges, proliferation of sponges through British Columbia in the tidal zones. All of this is applicable for your tidal zones. There's already, we got 563 birds, but only, when it comes to birds, you really got to think about 189 species that are the migratory ones that are regularly see here, and 168 residential. In reality, because a lot of these birds have only, the 563 bird species, this is a 2014 study, have only been around for a short, only seen in a couple of places or just a single place. So the species I'm talking about are always the species that I'm talking about are the government species, right? Whatever that may be, I'm talking about at the time. God, like there's so many different birds you can't possibly keep up with the amount of birds anyway. But for the indigenous species, we'll talk about a lot of that. And we'll talk about the massive amount of radiation come here and kill them all. But at the same time, I don't want you to think of, well, here's a better way to look at it maybe. So they're going to shoot, this is a 10-story building. Now, if you see behind me, that's probably not the best way to look at it. But if you see that building here, Unit 3, it's obvious that that can't exist like that. And so when you think about stuff like this, or stuff like that, say for instance, so how is it possible that you got this pole, say, inside of this building? I'm inside the building, my head is burning, it's burning. But how are you going to get that inside of this building? So that was the fable that they fed you. They claim you're going to shoot neurons through something that's not even there, because when you actually look at that building, it's totally gone. They tore it all down. It's completely destroyed, right? So that can't be inside of something that don't exist. The fuel pools would have been up here at the top, not down there at the bottom. Yeah? Which is what I'm trying to say, right? So don't think of it as Dana saying this. Don't think of it as a divided issue. Don't think of it as anything but for what it is. Look at the pictures for yourself, and better not say, hey, wait a second. You better not say, hey, I think that's a hoax. Well, it's obviously a hoax, right? And that's why I showed you all the species that are actually on the coastline. And so when I say that I went out there on the coastline, that's a tsunami wrecked that coastline, right? I went out there on the coastline and I done the whole coastline. Instead of looking like that, it looks like that. For most of the coastline, there's 100 species left on the coastline. We've done the whole coastline. And so I dove this whole coastline year after year. The whole coastline looks like that no matter where you go. And that's why I was showing you those species list earlier, right? That's what was important about that. Just to get everybody on the right page. Tomorrow we're going to go way down that rabbit hole. You know, because that's not the one I wanted. Sorry. If you look at the species on the rocky shores, like they like rocky shores, they like pebbles, they like beaches and stuff like that, right? On shores with fine sediment and sand, mud, small pebbles, many animals are found. But they also attach their pebbles and the cobbles to include the clams, the mussel shrimp, the sand dollars, and the 480 species of worms that I'm talking about. There's a lot more than that that's been here, but only found a few times. But, you know, all I'm trying to do is educate people and tell people, and these are the species, and these are all recent studies, a lot of them since Fukushima. But in order to blow up the numbers, they included species only been counted one time and never seen again, especially with birds and stuff like that, to make it look like there was an abundance here, but it's actually not, right? So this is a British Columbia. That's applicable to all of British Columbia, see? This is government. Everything I'm showing you was government studies. All the studies are government studies. And I'll put a link below tomorrow's video, or tonight's video if I remember. And people can go look through all those studies if you feel like it. But I'm going to walk you through it. In fact, I'll walk you through it all tomorrow. I'll put a link below it tomorrow. What else did I have to say? There's something else I wanted to say. Oh yeah, we got some funny stuff coming up this week. There's an idiot out there, and he has no idea what's in store for him. But it's going to be funny. It's going to be a funny week, I think. A hilarious week. Somebody's going to get their own. In a public way, on top of that. It's going to be hilarious. But that's your species of the coastline. That's why I went out and we went and done that whole coastline in a little Zodiac, 25 feet. I know people are trying to say it's 20 feet, but it's 25 feet. It's got a diesel stove on it. It's got a cabin on it. Like a real stove, $3,000 stove. You're totally warm and dry and snug. And we done the whole coastline. And yeah, we got tied up in storms where we had to sit out storms for weeks, where I even had no food or fuel. We had to raise money to do the whole coastline. 15,000 miles, 260 days. And what we showed on those expeditions is a total extinction event. That's Louise Narrows and Haida, formerly known as the Queen Charlotte Islands. You can check out these pictures yourself through the internet for Haida, for Louise Narrows. You'll find the same pictures on Google. And these are the pictures I took. You can find them up at the NuclearProctologist.org. And so we'll see everybody tomorrow for the live stream. We'll see everybody tomorrow for the live stream. Just remember, if you want the truth, if you want to find out the reality of it, all I can do is try to help you understand the significance of what I'm talking about, this extinction event, and what it really. Like I've got 14,000 hours underwater. I'm not somebody who lives in a big city or something, never been on the ocean or in the ocean. I'm not going to mention no names. We don't want to get them excited. But I mean, the people that are trying to demonize me, you got to realize that I've spent my whole life on the ocean. That's all I know. And trying to muddle the water when I know exactly what I'm talking about, exactly what I've done, exactly. Now, what I talk about, the species that are missing are not me. They're the pictures. And that's the coastline. And there's a funny story coming up this week for sure about some idiot who's definitely doing the wrong things and is going to find that out in a real bad way, and it's going to cost him and his friends and his families and his loved ones a tremendous amount of humility and embarrassment for the rest of their lives. It's shocking, though, that it's gotten to this point, right? But anyway, we have an extinction event in British Columbia. I documented it. That's period. That's bottom line. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about what we show and what we demonstrate and what we can prove and what we did prove, and that we're not just armchair activists. We've done the coast verbatim, repeatedly. We're going to do it again soon coming up. in another 4 or 5 weeks, I guess, if I can build myself up to it. Because this is an extinction event. We got to get out and document whatever it is we're going to see. Hugs for everybody. See everybody tomorrow morning if you got time. If not, it'll be posted in 1080 high quality at Beautiful Girl Boy Dana on YouTube after the live stream. The links will be below this video. If it's not there right away, it'll show up later for the actual live stream. But links to the live stream site are there. Hugs for everybody. We'll see you soon.